Hello, this short film is to help you get the best out of your home, to make sure you're comfortable and to keep your energy bills low.
Hello, that sounds great. Where do we begin?
Well, your new home is different from your previous homes you've lived in, as it's a passive house, which means it is highly energy efficient. Traditional houses can be drafty and cold, with air leaking out through the roof, windows and doors, but passive houses have highly insulated walls, roof, windows with 3 layers of glass, and airtight front doors, with no letterbox to let in the drafts.
So, snug, airtight and cosy.
Yes, your home is like a thermos flask. When you put a warm drink into a flask, it stays warm because the flask is so well insulated and airtight. In the same way, super insulation helps to keep your home warm and snug.
So, how is my home heated?
Mainly by passive heat. Traditional homes use active heat, usually from a central heating system or portable heaters. And although you have a central heating system, it's best to think of this as backup heating, not your main source. Your main source of heating is passive heat. Passive homes are very good at capturing and storing passive heat and hardly need any active heating at all. Passive heat comes from a number of sources, including the sun shining through your windows, the people in your home and what they're doing, your pets, your TV screens, games, consoles and laptops, your water heater and the appliances you use every day, and of course all the lights you have on. All this combined gives off a lot of passive heat. And as your new home is airtight, this passive heat stays inside your home, keeping it warm.
But if it's airtight, how does the temperature stay comfortable?
Good question. With the help of Paul or Zender.
Who?
Not who, but what. Paul and Zender are the big ventilation units which live in cupboards in your homes. They're very clever, but also very simple, and work a bit like your lungs. They draw fresh air into your home from outside, clean it, warm it, circulate it round the home, and send the stale air back outside. The air in your home is changed around 8 times a day, and because it's filtered air, some people notice that they feel much healthier and have fewer coughs and colds. But to make sure the air is always fresh in your home, there are a few things that you can do to help. Never switch Paul or Zender off. Remember, they're like your home's lungs, providing continuous fresh air. They only cost a small amount to run. Make sure that the ceiling or wall vents in all the rooms are never covered, or Paul and Zender can't breathe. And really importantly, make sure that Paul and Zender's filters are changed every 6 months. Circle, Old Ford, will arrange this, but you may need to remind them. And finally, you have a control panel in your kitchen which looks like one of these. This is where you can change the speed of the air circulation to keep your home comfortable. Although the control panels all look different, they operate in the same way, very much like your heating thermostat, with a choice of 3 settings, low, medium and high. They're really simple to use. It's best to keep on medium for most of the time. Only set it on low if you're away from home for a few days, or high for an hour or so, if you have lots of people round, or your home feels hot or stuffy. But always remember to set it back to medium. This is your standard setting.
Okay, so I'm beginning to understand how Paul and Zender keep my home comfortable. But what about the windows? Is it alright to open them?
Yes, it's perfectly okay. But as a rule of thumb, in the winter, when it's cold outside, it's best to keep the windows closed as much as possible to keep the passive heat in. And in the summer, when it's hot outside, it's a good idea to open the windows during the evening to create a cross draft to cool the house down. But when the windows are open, do be mindful of security and always put them in the locked open position if you're at all worried.
Can you tell me a bit more about what to do in the winter?
Because your homes are so well insulated, you'll find that they stay a lot warmer than traditional houses in the winter. But if you feel cold, you can just switch on the backup central heating.
Yes, but central heating can be expensive.
Yes, it can, and to keep your bills down, there are 3 things you need to think about: program, thermostat and radiators. First, you need to set the program for when you want the heating to come on and go off. Best to set it for twice a day, early morning and evening. How you do this depends on where you live. In the 4-bedroom houses, you have 2 heating zones, upstairs and downstairs, and you need to program the control panels in the cupboard in the top bathroom. And while you're there, make sure your hot water tank is also programmed to heat up only once or twice a day and is not on the continuous setting. You then need to go downstairs and set the thermostats to the temperature that you find comfortable. Typically 21 degrees for living areas and 18 degrees for bedrooms. In the 3-bedroom houses, where you also have 2 heating zones, and in the flats, it's much simpler. The control panel and thermostat are combined, so you just set the programme and temperature in the same place. And finally, in all the properties you can adjust the room temperatures by the TRVs.
What are TRVs?
They're thermostatic radiator valves. You'll find them on the radiators in all the rooms where there isn't a thermostat. They have a range of settings from off to maximum, and you just turn them up or down to make the radiators hotter or colder. Off, frost setting, kitchen, bedrooms, living rooms, high, maximum heat. This means that if your son always feels too hot, he can turn down the TRV in his bedroom to number 1 or 2. And if your daughter always feels too cold, she can turn up the TRV to 3 or 4.
So no more fights about heating.
And everyone's happy. But if no one is using a room, remember to turn the TRV to off or to the frost setting, so you're not wasting energy and money.
So that's helpful about the winter. Any tips for the summer?
The trick in the summer months is to think about how to keep your home as cool as possible. As soon as the weather starts to get hot, first, make sure the central heating is turned off. And second, try and keep down the amount of passive heat you're producing. Turn off appliances during the day when you can, especially if you're not using them. For example, turn off your TV screen when not in use. Close down laptops and game consoles. Try to avoid using the washing machine during the day. And where possible, don't use the tumble dryer at all. Hang your washing in the garden instead. And third, take some tips from people who live in hot countries who know how to keep their homes cool. In the heat of the day, try to keep your homes as dark as possible, with curtains, windows and shutters closed, especially in rooms you're not using. And during the evening, when it's cooler outside, try opening your windows to create a cross draft, thereby trapping the cool air and bringing the temperature down indoors. And finally, try turning Paul or Zenda to the highest setting at the hottest parts of the day and for 20 minutes before you go to bed. This should cool your home down.
So that's it then. That's an awful lot of information to remember.
It is, but the more you understand how your home works, the simpler it will become. Just remember that your passive home is like a thermos flask. It's well insulated and airtight. It makes its own passive heat and has a continuous supply of clean, fresh air breathed in and out by Paul or Zenda, which you can control at the panel in your kitchen. Medium is the best setting for most of the time. And remember, there are different rules for winter and summer. In winter, when it's colder outside than inside, you're trying to keep the passive heat in by keeping the windows closed. And in the summer, during the day, you're trying to keep the heat out by creating as little passive heat as you can, but opening as many windows as possible when it's cooler in the evening to create a cross draft.
Well, thanks. I definitely understand more than I did.